Hey, my name is Matt Storr and I repair saxophones for a living, and today I'd like to talk to you about... Oh, wait. Looks like I got some work to do.
Hey, my name is Matt Storr and I repair saxophones for a living, and today I would like to show you a Conn C soprano saxophone. Now, you might notice that this has the Naked Lady engraving, but it has a serial number that is much earlier, 1928. Now, most likely what happened is this instrument's body tube and probably keys were manufactured, and then it sat around for a while before it actually got sold. And that is when it got finished and it was engraved with a contemporary style. So this is a New Wonder Series 2 soprano with unique engraving. This may be one of a kind. There can't be more than a few of these out there. Now, there is precedent for this. Actually, Buescher sopraninos, there was like a batch of them, probably about a dozen or so, that were made and then not finished until much later. And you see them with aristocrat engraving. I actually got one that was unfinished that literally sat in a drawer, and then when the factory got cleared out, this guy was allowed to, the story goes, fill up a car. So he got a enormous old Cadillac convertible and piled it like 10 feet high. And this guy used to sell stuff on eBay back in the day from his, cash that he got out of the old factories. And I got an unfinished Buescher Sopranino, no engraving, it wasn't buffed, the key cups were like really sharp, there was no rods, no springs, and I actually got it finished and engraved and gold plated. Lives in Europe somewhere now. But anyway, so there is precedent for a horn being built and then not finished, typically in the weirder sizes, and I believe that's what happened here. So this is kind of a possibly one of a kind, definitely extremely rare Conn C soprano from 1928. Now, C sopranos were made, the quick version is that, saxophones were originally envisioned to have two families, one in C and F for orchestral work, one in B flat and E flat for band work. B flat and E flat is what we've got mostly today, and the C and F stuff never really took off, although Conn made a good bit of it. So did Buescher, at least in C. You see C melody tenors a lot. You don't see C sopranos quite as much, and F altos are pretty rare too. Now the C melody tenor saxophone, I've got a video on that. You can check that out. That's actually something that's pretty worthwhile getting for a lot of people. It's fun to play in the key of C. The C soprano was not really as much of a polished product. It doesn't play quite as well. They're very, very cool. Lots of people like them, but I think you probably, if you're going to buy a saxophone in C, probably start off with the C melody. Then if you really like it, you want to go nuts, you can get one of these. Now, the C soprano from Conn it's basically the same throughout the run. There is two differences that I can think of. One is the left-hand pinky table changes a little bit. It's got an older style spatula here. This mechanism actually changes. This is a more modern, like New Wonder Series 2 mechanism. Works pretty well for the G sharp. The major change is they go from, on the earlier ones, the G pearl sits over the A key cup. The A pearl sits over the bis key cup, and the adjustments between those are done on the underneath of the pearls with cork or felt or whatever underneath, going from here to here to here, kind of chains together. On the later ones, they've got this weird mechanism on the A. See if you can see it there. So there it is. The A rests on the G, like solid rod that connects it to the octave mechanism to control its height, and then the adjustment between the A and the bis is the one in the front, and then the bis holds down the C sharp. So it's a pretty weird mechanism. I don't think that it's actually superior to the earlier one, but the left hand, the upper stack does look different as a result. If you look at pictures of earlier ones, all this is kind of much closer together. So it's not quite as comfortable. I mean, like, this is a pretty small horn, right? So like if your fingers are closer together than this, they really start getting up against each other. But in that way, the earlier C sopranos are a little bit more like the design of the sopraninos that they made. Notice it's also keyed only to E flat, and keyed down to low B flat. And yeah, these are pretty cool. I think they didn't spend as much time on the design of these as they did a lot of other horns. You get some places, like on the D tone hole in particular, you can see like that is nearly the width of the body tube, and the pad, the key cup is just barely bigger, and you get that like on the C as well. There's several places like that where it's just like it doesn't quite all fit together. And it's really tricky to get like a really snappy, like, that's actually really hard to get that to feel and sound that way. It's just a bit of a challenge to work on compared to regular B-flat soprano. This one also was missing pearls. Believe it or not, this horn lived in a barn for decades before I got it. The case was basically dust. The horn was really messed up, as you saw in the beginning of the video. And this took quite a bit of work to get this to where you see it now. But it came out well, looks cool. But that's the Conn C soprano, quick version. There's not a whole lot to tell about this that you don't see in like my Conn New Wonder Series 2 soprano video, my C melody video. Just the kind of weird things about this are that the tone holes are just so darn big. I mean, this is one of the cases maybe where the what are they called, reso pads might actually be a benefit, because those are a bit wider, right? They're actually as wide as the key cup versus sitting inside the key cup like regular pads. And that might be like a benefit in this case. I elected not to use them. I'm not super comfortable with those pads. I can make it work with my normal pads. Also, intonation on these is a bit tough. They came with a mouthpiece that is slightly shorter than the typical B-flat soprano mouthpiece of the time. And those mouthpieces are a lot shorter than modern mouthpieces, right? So if I get like, here's like a regular old C-star, right? Like the mouthpiece that this would have come with, try to like find something to kind of like make it clear, probably would have been about this long overall. So there's a huge amount of extra length. You can fit a regular soprano mouthpiece on this, but it's just going to be way, way, way too long. You might get the intonation to like, you might be able to get your tuning note in tune, but the rest of the horn is just going to be super screwed up. The bottom is going to burble and the top is going to be way flat. So you have to use a appropriate mouthpiece. I've heard reports of people using a modern Selmer Super Session and having decent results with those. Those are quite stubby and they have a tiny chamber, so they're similar to what this would have come with. Also, this will fit in a B-flat soprano case. They had their case that fit well that they were sold with. You can get a regular B-flat soprano case and then fill up one end of it, add some padding, and it works fine. But that is a Conn C soprano from 1928. They made them in the teens and the 20s, and apparently some of them got sold in the 30s with the contemporary engraving. I'll give you a little bit of close-up on that. Really pretty. And like I said, this thing lived in a barn, so there was a lot of work to do to get it looking like it looks now. I didn't think I would get this far, but a couple days of polishing, literally days of polishing, and the silver they put on these things is just really, really thick. So sometimes you can get surprised with the results you can achieve. All right, hope you found that helpful, useful, informative. My name is Matt Storr. Thanks for watching. I should also point out that in my experience, these are not like built to the tightest tolerances from the factory. Unlike other Conns of the era, at least, the New Wonder Series 2 is typically like, better mechanical condition than like the New Wonder Series 1 coming out of the gate. My video on the New Wonder Series 1, you can watch that to see what I'm talking about. But this is much more like New Wonder Series 1 build quality coming out of the gate. So if you do buy one of these, regardless of how old it is or new it is, and regardless of how much it's been played, you're probably going to need a mechanical restoration on day one. So plan on, paying as much as you paid for it to get it fixed up.